What's up YouTube? I'm Zach and this is Favca Farms. So in today's video I wanted to talk a little bit about myself. So basically, to give you a general rundown, my name is Zach. I live in central Pennsylvania right now. I've been born and raised here my whole life. I'm 19 years old, so pretty young. I got a lot to learn. Definitely have some big ambitions with my life, and I'm doing everything I can to achieve those. I noticed from a young age I was really into nature. I always had I always would go fishing, hunting, hiking, just anything to do with nature. I loved it. And then I kind of got away from it in the mid portion of my life, middle school years. And then during high school I got back into it, and I fell in love with just raw resources and agriculture, and I liked the idea of owning a homestead and building a tiny house, and they're becoming more and more popular, and I noticed that. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create something that I could capitalize on that. So a little bit more on my background is I'm very heavily into business. My grandfather, he taught me a lot about business from a young age. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you ever read that business book, probably when I was about, I want to say 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. I read it once and then I read it a couple more times after that. And then just recently, within the past 2-3 years, I have another mentor who's been teaching me a lot about business. He's a very successful man, and I'm really lucky to have the situation that I have where I can work alongside of him and learn a lot about business. So my main goal is really to just document the entire journey of building a homestead site, a farming business, agricultural business in today's modern world. I think it'd be very cool to see me start from nothing. I'm young, right? I'm 19 years old. I know a lot about business, I really do. I just have that sixth sense of business knowledge, and it's always in the back of my head. I always think about things in terms of business and business first. But I also realize my strength is empathy. And from a young age, I've been very loving and caring, and always had that EQ, always had that emotional intelligence, that empathy for other people, and I just love people. I just generally love people. I don't ever have like a negative connotation with people, at least not right away. But I'm very positive. I'm a very positive person, and that's just how I like to roll. So I notice these things about myself, and I'm trying my best to put myself in the position where I can match my passion, which is raw resources. I don't know a lot about farming. I don't know a lot about agriculture. I don't really know too much about raw resources, but I know that it's what I want to do. I have relatives, ancestors that have been involved in agriculture, the traditional agriculture, and I just feel that it's in my blood. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to feel accomplished. I feel like it's in my blood. I just really do. I feel like agriculture is in my blood. I just have this thing where I love raw resources, and I want to mess and play with raw resources. So we'll see where that goes. But then I also have this large array of business knowledge that I've learned over the years of being with my grandfather, being around business people, working with my mentor recently. I have a lot of business knowledge, and I understand how I want to build and develop a business. I also think that social media, as far as YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, have huge upside for people like me and you. We might not have access to big publications such as television networks and different things like this, but I can sit here, and of course this is a better camera, but I could sit here with my phone and record a video and put it on the internet, and it could go viral. It might not, it probably won't, but it could go viral, and I could gain so much traction in my life because of that. it's a big tool for exposure for business, and if you're not utilizing it, I think you should. But a little bit more about me, because I don't want to go off topic here. So that's really my goal with this whole thing, this whole process. It's to build a business not just based on profit. A lot of people think businesses should be based solely on profit. Profit is the bottom line. I kind of tend to differentiate myself with that, as far as saying I think profit is secondary. I think what matters the most is the physical emotions of your employees, your customers, yourself. I think the overall culture and the overall vibe of the whole company stems from having empathy and having that EQ and understanding that its profit shouldn't be the bottom line when you have tons and tons of employees and tons of customers and people's lives are being affected. Profit should not be the thing that you're solely focused on. I think profit's very important, and it's obviously a huge part of business, but I also think that a lot of business owners tend to leave out empathy and EQ and stuff like that, and I think it's really important for businesses. So what my main goal with this whole thing is I want to document every single day or every other day that I can, doing videos about me finding property, searching for a property for the farmstead, the homestead, the farm, the business. I want to do videos about certain crops, about gardening, about aquaponics, about permaculture, about hugel mounds, about hugel culture. I want to do videos about growing mushrooms and mushroom production, koi fish production. I want to do vegetable production. I want to have animal production, rotational grazing, swales and berms, stuff like this, permaculture principles. I want to make videos about. I think that there's huge upside, and I talk about this in my the Revival Revolution of Agriculture article. If you haven't read it, I'm still working on it. I'll link it down in the description below once it's finished, and you can also check it out if you're looking at this video on my website. You can also check it out on my website. I am infatuated with the idea that industries in America, well, in the world, are on a pendulum swing. So when this pendulum swings, there's a point where it becomes the industry itself becomes very trendy. A lot of people try to join the bandwagon and try to get into that industry, and then that's what pushes it back to becoming unpopular and just overall not as trendy, I guess, or not as you don't have as much upside as you did when it was over here, right? So here it's at the peak of its pendulum. It's about to start falling backward, and that's when the media gets a hold of it, and tons of people start doing it, and just a lot of stuff happens around the particular industry. And then what happens is they move on. People move on. People get people get tired of this industry, and they move on to another industry, and it's those people that just constantly jump for trends that kind of fuel this. And what happens is, so agriculture is here, it starts falling back here, and now it's on the total opposite side. People are staying away. It's a dead industry. There's no money to be made, and that's the things you hear from agriculture right now, is there's no money to be, at least a couple years ago, from my interpretation, 5 to 10 years ago, you had people saying, traditional farmers saying, there's no money in this, there's really no money in this, there's very little money unless you have a lot of resources, a lot of capital, a large farming operation, a large scale. And you hear a lot of farmers saying that. So it's on this side of the pendulum swing where there's not a lot of people doing it. The overall population of farmers that are farming are very, very old. No offense. I think the average age is like 55 to 60, the average age of a farmer in America. Something like that. So that shows you the population is aging up, and that gives me and you guys opportunity to create content, to do stuff, because now you have things that are coming into trend a little bit. Not as much as they can be, but you have shows like on television, tiny house hunting, tiny house building, tree house masters. You have different building things. And to go along with that, you compare that alongside of agriculture, and you know, aquaponics is becoming big. Organic farming was huge a couple years ago. I mean, you can tie that into your business. And it's slowly starting to come back where it's gaining more relativity, and it's becoming more and more important over here where it was super important before. It was fueling the war, it was doing whatever way back when. Now you see the pendulum shifting, and it's moving closer and closer to this other side. And that's the whole idea I talk about in my video. I'm going to do a video on it, and I'm also going to write an article about it. It's called the Revival Revolution of Agriculture. Check it out on my website. I'll leave a link in the description. But that's pretty much it from me. That's the main goal. I just want to document and produce content around farming, gardening, agriculture, and business. So that's really the main premise I want to get across, is if you have any interest in any of those things, permaculture, gardening, agriculture, farming, aquaponics, business, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below and like this video if you enjoyed it. I'm going to be making more videos very, very soon, so stay tuned for those, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!